A very good evening to all our viewers. Welcome to today's edition of the Evening Review. My name is Tebon Jabela, your host. Tonight on the show, we are, I don't know whether to say honored or privileged or perhaps just happy to have these two faces here. The two men who just got released out of jail yesterday. They got bail in the High Court, Dimbulukeni Nauyoma and Michael Amushelelo, who is now calling himself actually Saddam since his release. I was saying to them before we started recording that for the 3 months that they have been away, they seem to have missed the sun. You look at their skins, the men are so light in complexion. So, gentlemen, there's no sun there. You don't go out a bit and play in the sun like other kids.
You see, Trevor, the problem with being a political prisoner is that you are kept separate from the others. So we didn't have the privileges of getting sun or anything of that sort. But we are grateful now. I think this is my natural tone color. I think
yellow bones.
I've just been abused too long. So, yeah.
Yeah, yellow bones now. No, welcome back. I don't know where to start. I'll start with Dimbulukeni, obviously. You've been away for 3 months. Today in Namibian Sun, we quoted you saying that you have actually just been hardened. Your fortitude to push ahead with activism has only been strengthened and not weakened, as many might have hoped for. If you can contextualize that.
I think it was the second day in prison. No. I think it was the fourth. The fourth day when we're in those prison, and we now, then again, we need to make connections to our legal team to understand what is really happening. I think we're still busy with the bail application. And I met a very brilliant and intelligent old man. Yeah. And he says to me...
Within the cells?
Within the reception area.
Oh, okay.
And he says to me, it's now a very old man, very, very strong and intelligent. Yeah. He says, you see, leaders get arrested. And leaders are at the forefront of the picketing line when you are advancing the cause of your people. When people are enjoying and they are free and happy and there's food, as a leader, you then go at the back so that you allow your people to enjoy the fruits. So that is typically what I'm saying through the advice of this old man. Many have a bad narrative about his history, but of course, the history that is written about the victor, you'll always hear a one-sided story. So he's a very strong man. They've beaten him up, broken him, but his spirit kept 5 years in isolation. Only saw a nurse that brought him medication and the officers that brought him food. I don't know whether I'm privileged to have shared the same cell, but where I was is exactly where he was kept for 5 years without any human interaction. He had his books and his radio, and that kept him for those 5 years there. So that advice coming from somebody who has been through there for over 20 years now. 23 years, to be specific.
He's still an inmate.
He's still an inmate, yes. Still an inmate. 23 years that is still there. And they are probably just waiting. See, you realize that people are clueless what to do with the almost 80-year-old, should be above 70 now. So you are clueless and you are still afraid of this person. So you now begin to understand what leadership is. And he tells me and says, look, leaders must go through these things. Leaders must get arrested. You can't be a leader of a protest movement and you've never seen what a charge office looks like, or you don't know what a prison cell looks like. And we are not saying you must know the prison cell through this GBV that we now hear, or many other things, or being corrupt, or these funny things. But you are there for the sake of doing a just cause in what you believe. So this is about principles. It should never be about personalities or whatever it is. A just cause is based on a principle and ideologies.
Oh, wonderful. Michael, I'm not going to call you Saddam today. I'm still getting used to that. But
no. I'm like Muhammad Ali. I refuse to be called Michael. Please, call me Saddam.
Saddam, what is you? I mean, look, you went into these cells, also having gone or having actually been causing troubles in the build-up to your arrest. Is anything that you regret in terms of what you did, and if you had a second choice, would you have done things differently?
Man, if I had a second choice to redo it, I would have now most probably carried through with my actual actions. You know, this time around they were just verbal. So my only regret is that the China shops are still standing.
Yeah.
The only thing I did was just close them down. So that's my only regret. But other than that, I cannot say that I have a particular regret, because you see, we must start looking at things and looking and understanding systems. Now, when our oppressors gave us freedom, remember, we didn't fight for this freedom. Yeah. Freedom comes at the hand of the bullet, not at the hand of the pen. If you get a compromise deal, and this is what Namibia got, and that's why today we still have people saying that no, our own people cannot sell counterfeit products. Yeah. But we know very well who's the mother and father of counterfeit goods in this country. Yet, these organizations that are at the helm of government would rather victimize and oppress their own people, as opposed to say that if there is a rule, why does the rule not apply to all and only apply to some? So that basically is an unjust situation. You cannot have an army of 1.6 million unemployed people in this country. You see, I'm saddened that we have the Ministry of Health celebrating that apparently, thanks to the post of the 1,500 post of Namibia Defense Force, over 50,000 young Namibians went to go get injections because they just wanted to apply for those few jobs. So do we actually realize that this country is sinking? And for as long as we continue to have oppressive laws, our people are not going to have anything. And that's why we said, we took the principled decision to say that, let us go and demonstrate this unjust law of NAMRA banning counterfeit products. Because you cannot tell me that a particular section of your country sells counterfeit products, but another section that sells, because these people, they give you brown envelopes and you get these soft loans. They are building your headquarters, they are building your roads, they are building literally virtually every major project in this country. So you now obviously, we now realize, we always thought it was a joke when we said this country is being run from Beijing. We can now see for ourselves that Jinping is the one giving the orders in this country. This government that we have here is just a puppet regime. Their only orders is to carry out what they are told, and you can see they carried out their orders to the letter. We have not killed anyone. We have not shot anyone. And you see what is funny? What is funny is that we're 8 of us that were charged. Yeah. The 6 were on the same day given warning to say, here's the warning, please appear in court. Yeah. The 2 of us, because they perhaps understand that we are most probably the ones, you see that sometimes they say that if you want to kill a snake, you cut off the head. So we are most probably the cobra that has 2 heads. So they realize maybe if we cut these 2 heads off, then everything ceases to die. But what they've not really understood is that after they imprisoned us, an army of other young people came to say that no, this is wrong. So what we have told them is that now they must start expanding and building bigger prisons, because the colleges, the prisons, we are going to turn them into colleges. We are going to give our people political education so that they can understand their true power. So right now, if the government has a budget for anything, please divert that budget, start building big big prisons, because you will need to come and prison this army of 1.6 unemployed people, because we are not going to stop.
I hear you. Dimbulukeni, Saddam here spoke about what many have described as flimsy sort of charges, and that selective application of rules. Some get the same charges as yourselves, but for some reason they never got arrested in the true sense of the word and never faced what you went through. Is it political?
Absolutely. You would realize that we were arrested, or he handed himself over on Friday morning, on the 13th of May. I was arrested at the picketing line on the same very day. About on Monday, Tuesday, I think by Wednesday, there was a promotion of a deputy commissioner who carried the instruction to the letter. The promotion of a commissioner and was deployed to Erongo. And this is the very same person who gave strict instruction to the colleagues at the judiciary. This is very important. We said we have 3 tiers of governance. Your judiciary, your legislature, and your executive, which are supposed to carry an oversight over the 3. Each one must check who's not corrupt. But it looks like this judiciary is an independent God. Of course, the 4th estate is then the media, which plays a critical role in reporting some of these cases. Yeah. Now, it is political in the sense that I can guarantee you, since we've entered, I think the very first week when we've entered the correctional facility, many of our people who wanted to visit us were told, no, those guys, they don't have access to them because they are political prisoners. We must first assess. In fact, immediately on the 2nd day, we got separated. Immediately on the instructions. So we were told that we received instructions. The 2 of you, please, one of you must speak quickly. So I was kept in a very big, cold, terrible place for about the entire period of our bail application. So that's about a week and a half. So I was there, and Michael was kept on the other side. We never made contact to one another. At some point it was very cold, and I got to hear that Michael was not feeling well. This coldness has just hit him. Because remember, it's worse. Probably me, I just don't know. Now at the time, there was no radio, there's nothing. So you have no access to any news. Yeah. So just like I narrated that this man was kept 5 years in a single cell, no human interaction. The same was done for about that period. So we didn't see each other. We didn't have any other human interaction. You just quickly out to get your food, go back. Yeah. So whether you are there alone, it's up to you. So you then now begin to understand the length that this regime is willing to go to. And you just start nodding and you start smiling. Say, oh, is this all? We thought there's more. Yeah. So ideally, when you look at this case and you look at the ruling of Judge Christy Liebenberg, he narrates the law. And I want to quote, he calls himself the Namibian reformist. That's what he wants to be known, Pastor Laban Mashekele, Shtundeni. He says that when there is law, and that law is an unjust law, resistance must be the order of the day. Because remember, where we come from, and this is what we are narrating to our people to say that even when apartheid was law, it's legal. There's nothing wrong with it. It's law. But it faced resistance because it didn't put justice forward. It was an unjust law. So therefore, even in our quest, when we were advocating and raising awareness for these counterfeit goods, it came across to say that no, this thing, let's forgo the law, let's use the rule of men. So the first thing was release the 6 and then keep the 2. But no, let's not keep the 2 at Windhoek Police Station, because here we don't even trust our own members. It's a hogwash custody there. That's why you find some guy was apparently on Instagram updating his account. You find another one is scamming people from that. Others are smoking dacha. Others are having a party. Yes. So it's a hogwash system that is down there. Yeah.
Sodom and Gomorrah.
Sodom and Gomorrah, basically. So let's take them to a serious institution. Yeah. And we said, thank you. It's a blessing. Why? Because they think now, hey, let's break them. So the first idea was break them emotionally because they are separated from others. Break them even further because you separate them the 2. Then keep them there longer. A former chief inspector presided over our case in the name of Kwezi. It's a former chief inspector.
The magistrate.
The magistrate. A former employee or subordinate of Ndeitunga and Shikongo. And others. You now see the rewards. Ndeitunga is going, somebody got a reward. And this somebody who says, hey, you must know who I am. Apparently in those negotiations he said, yeah, they must know who I am. Yeah. a Major General Shikongo.
Major General Shikongo.
So you see now where Major General Shikongo is, and you see the other one who gave further instruction that he received where he went to Erongo.
Yeah.
So it's a cluster of the length where the so-called men in the uniform, principled people who are supposed to look at the law,
Yes.
are willing to go to score small, cheap personal vendettas. I don't know whose child I've angered, but
so much. I hear you. We
yeah.
go for a small break. The gentlemen hold their thoughts, and then we return. We continue the show with Dimbulukeni and Saddam. Now, Saddam, look, the question that a lot of people are asking is, when you are in the space that you are in, activism and politics of activism, especially in your particular case, what is the end game? What is it that will make you a normal guy like myself who doesn't what do you call it? Picket
and all that.
Yeah.
You see, I sometimes feel saddened as an ordinary Namibian. Toivo, you know my background. I'm one of the few young millionaires in the country. I'm one of the few guys who've made it from humble beginnings, and I've made a name for myself. So one would ask themselves, why is this guy throwing away all of this for people who he doesn't even know? When people call me to go to a site where Chinese are busy with a road contract, I don't know anyone there. None of my families are employed there. But I go there because I feel a sense of responsibility with the injustice that's being done there. Now, for as long as we don't have good people who stand up in a time of evil, evil will always prevail. Now, in this country, we always have a thing of something must be done, somebody must do it, anybody, but who are these anybody's, who are this somebody? So someone needs now to sacrifice themselves, because people really want to stand up, but people are like, but wait, if I stand up, I'll be victimized. I'll no longer be able to get a job. I'll never be able to do contract or business with government. You know, government is one of the biggest people that you can do business with. So because people are selfish and they love their own interest, they are not willing to advance the interest of others.
Yep.
Now, I cannot live in a country where I know that 1 million people live in shacks. I cannot live in a country where 1.6 people are unemployed and go to bed. Now, every day, people are complaining that the crime rate is high. Please, the NDF, bring the soldiers on the streets. Bringing soldiers on the street does not solve your high unemployment rate, because the soldier that you are bringing to the street, he's the very same one who's going to become the criminal, because he also faces injustice because he lives in a shack. He's unable to afford cooking oil. So that same soldier that you are saying must come and defend you. How, you see, we have a situation where you have a tosha. We've got the police, we've got the military, we've got literally every government law enforcement agency there. But rhinos are still being killed. Who do you think is killing the rhinos? Do you get what I'm saying? So you protect, you see, the sheep is always scared of the fox and the hyena. But at Christmas, it is the shepherd who slaughters the sheep to eat it. So we are having shepherds who are supposed to preside over us, but these are the same people who are looting our country. These are the same people who are denying opportunities to young people. These are the same people who would rather empower foreign nationals as opposed to their own nationals. These are the people who are selling our resources at cheap, remotely prices. How can you have a country that is so blessed and abundant in resources, yet we have people crying of poverty. We are ranked as an upper middle income country, but this wealth is just in the hands of a few. So I cannot allow a situation where only a few eat and the rest of us are languishing in poverty. So I'd rather languish in poverty with my people than be one of those elites, because at the end of the day, when these poor people have nothing to eat, they will come and rich eat people.
I hear you.
They will come and eat us all up, us rich people. We must be very afraid, because the poor people, when they've got nothing to eat, I can guarantee you that will become their meals.
I hear you. It's a good point. So, Dimbulukeni, now in your case, and this is also it's not the first time that you're getting arrested for this kind of things. And when you were arrested, immediately in May, I think that very weekend, your mother made pronouncements. She said...
January, actually. January the 18th, yes.
When your mother's...
The second time or the first time?
The first arrest? The recent one. Oh, yeah, in May, yes. Oh, yeah, May.
Yeah, your mother was interviewed in May, and she was at pain to understand what it is that you've done really to deserve that. You have young children and a partner, and I'm just wondering, where do you get that courage from to continue doing these things? Also, considering the fact that activists that are operating at your level are very, very few. So it's a tiny minority that is fighting against a huge, powerful system, but for some reason that fortitude is still there. Where does it come from?
You see, prison is a very nice place. It gives you time to reflect, gives you time to read, gives you time to analyze. And one of those analyses that we're carrying over is exactly what you are asking, to say, but where does this thing come from? I started now hearing, I of course knew when we were preparing my grandmother's eulogy last year, almost in the same period now. She passed on the 26th of August last year. I knew she would have gone to prison twice, but the longest she stayed was over 6 months. There was a huge protest for them to be released from Oluno under the Boers. I knew my father when he got shot at the border of Zambia and Namibia in Zambezi now, Caprivi then. He got captured, spent about 3 years all over, Mariental, Windhoek, Oluno. So they were just moving him up and down. And this man with one leg says, no, I'm now in Odibo, but this country is not yet safe because it's not liberated. He again went to Zambia, just with one leg. My mother, them's firstborn, spent also a good number of years in that same system. And I realized maybe this thing is genetic. But activism, generally, Toivo, it's not something you choose to do. Because I can tell you, everybody sees where this country is. Everybody knows we have over 80,000 unemployed graduates, 1.2 young people who are unemployed, 1.6 people who are living and languishing in poverty on a daily. The housing backlog is over 300,000. Windhoek alone, we house over 90,000 people in shacks. We have people who are in the city of Windhoek fighting. There was a good, I don't know which publication put up there, is this vote of no confidence, and a councillor is smiling. And the same front page, people are drinking water that is just running there from the drainage. The same very city that we have. And we said, 2020, the people said, let's take out old people. Only one person remained from the previous regime, Councillor Kahungu. New, fresh ideas to go and make sure that people are now saving at least basics. Water, basics. Let's maybe land is complicated. Water. Just so that you are able to eat and drink. These things are not there. But nobody stood up amongst those when we were in prison to address this issue. So activism is not something you pick up. It's something that is within. So when something pains you, it doesn't matter how many millions you have. So when it pains you, you stand up immediately and you say, hey, this thing is wrong. So that is where this thing comes from. It's not something we go and buy in the shop. It's not something you go on Facebook.
Yeah.
It's not something you go on Twitter. Remember, Shut It Down came from Twitter. People were there, complaining, which at least what I think assisted was when the remains of Vattelfeld was found. And these young people who were her age mate said, so am I next? So when the remains were found, everybody came to the street. And you saw for a whole week, Windhoek was ungovernable. They arrested a few kids, detained them in the correctional facility. They become Windhoek Island prisoners also. Unfortunately, they just never went for registration. So we were supposed to give them numbers like ours. So we were colleagues, but we are colleagues in arms because they've been there for standing up for a just cause. So that is what activism is. So my family must understand, and we understood from Che Guevara through the words of Thomas Isidore Sankara. And he says, Che Guevara does not belong to Argentina. He would never belong to Cuba. He never belonged to Latin America. He belonged to the world because he was here in the DRC. He died in the Bolivian mountains because he believed that where injustices happened, it called his name.
Yeah.
We have the same in the name of Joseph Kalimbwe. That boy made me cry yesterday. For the first time, people were saying tears of joy. No, it's because I understood where this boy comes from.
Yeah.
When they detained him, locking up UNAM, mere protest. They detained him, then they went to say, no immigration, this boy is a foreigner. The boy is born by a Zambian and a Namibian. Lived in Shesheke, grew up in Shesheke, and it's just a walk thing over. It's like me from Odibo in Oyongo. My one house is in Oyongo, the other is in Odibo, so I just walk to the next house and come here. My father could probably be from Angola.
Yeah.
But that doesn't make me a foreigner. We liquidated this young man. We thought he was not going to become anything. Today is the spokesperson of the president of Zambia. And the spokesperson of the president of Zambia felt it just to come and say, no, this injustice that is happening in Namibia, in Africa in general, is what we must be carrying.
Yeah.
So that spirit of Pan-Africanism, not these hogwash things that we learn about, what is the guy you don't like, Kwame Nkrumah. Because he became a staunch capitalist. He created a company and he said every government tender, 5% goes to their company. And it's his family estate.
Yeah.
So a leader who wanted things to happen for our people ended up being corrupt. So Toivo, this thing, my family, I think they've already adjusted. So
the mindset is...
I've understood what my mother was at pain with because she left this country, I think at the tender age of 13 or under 16.
Yeah. In 30 seconds.
Yes.
Yeah,
tender age.
Yeah.
She left this country. They were part of those ones who were planting bombs. And in fact, we also met the lady at the correctional facility who was in charge of those operations. At the age of 16, she had the AK-47. The country got liberated. Today, they are camping there, asking for their repatriation.
Yeah. Gentlemen, I wish we could go on and on because it's always good energy when I have you here. But, we're just happy that you're out.
No. Let's perhaps listen to the audience. If the audience demand that we come and articulate things properly, we'll most definitely adhere because we only adhere to the will of the people and not the will of a few select.
Absolutely. Yeah. The platform is always available.
Definitely.
You came back with very light in complexion. Thank you for making time.
Now these are our natural colors. It's our natural colors. We must just go back to the ground. You'll see the other one coming back.
No, thank you, gentlemen. That was tonight's show with Saddam and Dimbulukeni. Thank you for watching.